Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. On today's episode, emotions past, decisions stay, never choose in chaos.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back. I'm Scott Whitwam, and on today's podcast, our topic is emotions past, decisions stay, never choose in chaos. Today's episode is about moments, the moments that silently shape our life. Every regret you have or have had likely carries back to one moment or one thing, a decision that was made while emotions ran high. Anger, fear, excitement, depression, opportunity, loneliness, etc., and etc., and etc. It goes on and on. Emotions always feel urgent, necessary, and real. However, emotions are not permanent. They come and they go. And yet the choices we make when guided by emotion influences are at times contrary to sound wisdom. I have seen coaching students who are full of excitement make bad acquisitions simply because their emotions overrode their training. This is true with novices and experienced investors alike. Guys that I have coached that I thought were solid investors, when they got involved in some emotional transaction, made bad or incorrect decisions. The reality is that people with experience in these particular areas are more likely to allow emotion to override sound judgment because emotion gratification that they've experienced before makes them feel invincible. So they move fast, led by emotion. But today, let's slow this down. We will cover these 6 points to help identify and deal with runaway emotions. 1, what makes emotions feel like logic? Number 2, how just once becomes a dangerous phrase. 3, how emotions temporarily set long-lasting mindset. 4, the cost of choosing chaos. Number 5, how to pause and verify. Number 6, what are strength and patience? But let's get started. Number 1, what makes emotions feel like logic? The first thing to come to grips with is that emotions are convincing deceivers. I'm not saying all emotion is bad, but unchecked, undeveloped emotions can twist truth. In fact, emotional maturity is about being able to assess and control our emotions. When we feel something strongly enough, then our brain treats it as if it is truth. It moves past thinking, its opinions or perspectives, but moves it into a reliable truth mode. Within our brain, emotional intensity reduces rational processing. What has been called the survival brain takes over. That's why in moments of anger, you say things that you don't mean. I mean, have you ever been there and wished or regretted that instance? In moments of fear, you avoid opportunities that you later regret that you missed. In moments of excitement, you overcommit, overspend, and overpromise. Your emotions don't ask permission. They simply take control. And during this mind chaos, the mind narrows, and you don't see all of your options. This is why decisions made in emotional chaos usually fall into 3 categories. First, reaction. Second would be avoidance. And the third would be impulse. The problem is that none of these are strategies, but we trust them because the emotion feels urgent. It feels like it needs to be acted on right now. And if we don't act on it right now, we're going to lose something very important to us, something that can shape our life. And because the emotion feels so real and so urgent, we sometimes forget to consider logic, facts, and futures. Number 2, just once becomes a dangerous phrase. What do you mean just once becomes a dangerous phrase? Many people make bad decisions. They don't announce these bad decisions to themselves saying, hey, this is going to be a poor decision, but they simply justify it. They whisper at you these emotions with sweet and soothing words to draw you into making a decision that without the emotion you may not make. Emotions say things like, this will be a one-off. That's a really big one. It's like, hey, I'm just going to do this once. The problem is when emotion gets involved and you do it once, now that emotion begins to build and to bind with you, and you're more apt to make the same emotional decision again if the outcome was tolerable or good. We say things like, hey, I can fix any issues with this later. I'm going to act on how I feel right now, and I'll just deal with the consequences later. They can't be that bad, right? We say things like, hey, I deserve this. It's about me. It's about how I feel. It's about what I deserve. We say things like, hey, I really don't have time to think this through. If I don't act now, the opportunity will be gone, and I certainly don't want to miss out on this great opportunity. This last one is what scam artists use against victims to get them to act on their emotion. It's also what high-pressure salespeople use when you're going to a car dealership, or maybe you have a service technician at your house, or you're at an open house. They like to use this emotion building and then create scarcity in your mind so that your emotions make a decision to act, even if you haven't taken time to logically think it out. This emotion, it drives or it creates the illusion that if we just simply wait, it'll lead to losing something. It'll lead to danger in our life, or it'll lead to regret from not making a decision or taking action. However, delay is exactly what saves us from these kind of disasters. And though our emotions don't want to delay, sometimes it's the best decision that you can take. Now, as a real estate coach, I know often you hear about sometimes we have to act fast and we have to make quick decisions. I'm not talking about just making quick decisions. I'm talking about making quick emotional decisions. Once you get skilled at doing something, let's just say that you flip cars, right? If you're out and you get very skilled at what values of cars, maybe you particularly flip Hondas, right, of a certain year or period, you know the value in whatever condition they are, and you can quickly assess the logic behind the numbers, taking quick action. The problem is we generally venture out into areas that we do not know. We rely upon what our mind and our heart gives us as far as being factual, and we think because we're an expert in this one area that all of a sudden we're an expert in another area because our emotion is telling us that, hey, we've got the skills, we've got the ability to make this emotional decision right now. I mean, think about this. How many times have you wanted to send a scathing message to somebody by email, and later you felt grateful that you didn't? Maybe how many times did you send that scathing email to somebody and regretted sending it once they got it? How many times did you want to quit and later you were thankful that you slept on it? How many times did you feel absolutely certain in the moment only to feel embarrassed later for overreacting? I think we've all been there. Emotions are something that are part of our life. They're very important to us, but developing emotional maturity helps make a difference to keep us from overreacting. See, emotions will push us to act now, while wisdom asks for the facts before acting. My oldest son appears to me to be a master in this area, as he is very methodical in evaluating options and making decisions. Go figure, the engineer mindset. He wants more information before he commits to things. And I think it's very good. I mean, we all can learn from being able to do that. There have been many times that I have missed out on opportunities and later said, hey, boy, it would have been great to have acted on that. But then when you count the downsides that may have been related to it, getting the actual facts and information and making the decision a little bit late has saved me tens and maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars over the year. Number 3, how emotion is temporary, but mindset is lasting. When we reframe how we look at emotion, it can change our results in life. Emotions will pass, but mindset shapes our life. We should not be defining our lives by, temporary decisions. Unfortunately, emotionally, people have a tendency to do the opposite. Then we let a bad day convince us that we really have a bad life. A hard session of life convinces us that we're failing at life. Then a simple feeling convinces us to rewrite our future. The truth is, most emotions peak and fade away within minutes and sometimes seconds, unless you keep fueling it. When you keep fueling it, they will last longer and longer. But the decisions we make during these peak emotions can echo for years. Our goal is not emotional suppression. The objective is emotional maturity. And it takes time, like anything, to build emotional maturity and be willing to live with the decisions to get the facts and do things through logic and protect us from making poor, quick, emotional decisions. Number 4, the cost of choosing in chaos. So let's talk about consequences. I know in society today, nobody wants to talk about consequences, right? Everything we do is right. But because emotional chaos doesn't just cloud our judgment, it actually narrows our opportunities. When we choose emotional chaos, we often burn bridges that we may later need. We trade long-term growth for short-term satisfaction. We mistake temporary discomfort for impending danger. Confused emotional stimulation, when we try to apply it as a gut feeling, it becomes solid within us, right? We confuse this. We confuse our emotions sometimes. We just say, hey, man, this is our intuition at work here. I've done good on working on my gut feeling before. But I can tell you, most of the successful people I know who have tried to live by gut feeling or intuition have at some point faced tremendous, I would say, failures or adversity in various areas because they confused emotion with sound judgment. The downside, once the emotion fades, you're left holding the outcomes and generally alone. Feeling fades away, but the decisions always remain. Number 5, how do we pause and verify? Here's a practical way you can apply emotional control. First, never make a life-altering decision while emotionally activated. If your heart rate is high, pause. If you feel desperate, pause. If you feel angry, pause. If you feel euphoric, pause. Yes, even when you feel euphoric, like everything is right, I can't lose, I can't make a bad decision, you need to pause because it's likely you're about to. Ask yourself these 3 grounding questions. Is this the choice I would make if I felt calm? How will I feel about this decision 6 months from now, or maybe even a year? Number 3, does this choice bring long-term growth or temporary escape? You don't need perfect clarity. You just need emotional neutrality or maturity. Number 6, strength and patience. True emotional strength isn't loud. It doesn't rush and it doesn't prove. Emotional strength is sitting with the comfort. Discomfort is not always bad. And we can do that without trying to erase it by wrong decisions. Emotional strength is resisting the urge to do something just to feel better. When we make our choices from a place of emotional maturity, it is less likely our future self doesn't have to clean up a big mess. So let me close with this. Remember, emotions pass, but sound decisions remain. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, share this with somebody else who needs to hear it. That's all we have for this episode. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of the Witwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to check out our previous episodes of real estate-related investing topics. And I'm glad that you're part of our growing investing community. It's great to hear from you. You can always find the Witwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. This is Scott Witwam. Be sure to join me on our next episode of the Witwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we're wealth building through real estate.